right. Welcome everybody again to the next DPDK Meetup. It's our 7th official time that we're hosting a meetup, so it's getting pretty, not I wouldn't call it standard, but we're getting better and better at it. And tonight we have a new special, I would call it almost an awesome list of brand activation as a subject. We have Gerben as first speaker. You can in a minute. Almost. We have Thijs from Friends for Brands. Gerben was from Obsession, and we have our very own Michael from DPDK, which completed the lineup for this night. I want to thank everybody again for joining DPDK. I think it's every time again very nice to see everybody joining us, having a burger, and being enthusiastic to see what our speakers have to tell us, and hopefully everybody prepares a lot of questions for us, so they can't get away that easy. So let's wait for that. That's my evil laugh. I promised actually Anouk, where are you? I promised her that I would wear a jacket next time, but I forgot it again. A glitter jacket because I'm like the default host for all of our meetups, and I should bring it next time. So next time a glitter jacket for me, but. Of course, I forgot it, so next time I will bring it. So, give a random applause, a very hard applause for Gerben, our first speaker.
Good evening. I suppose to use this one for everybody who's watching online, so also everybody online. I hope it's more than, I saw 3 people from our office are watching, so we have an audience, so that's great. Thank you very much, DPDK, for inviting us. My name is Gerben Plasmeijer. I'm from the company Obsession, and we are an event and communication company. I'm 40. I started this business for myself 15 years ago, and now we have like 20 people working with us. The most, how you say that, the people we are working are creatives and project managers. Those are the 2 things we have in-house, and the rest is we buy it in, because it's all, it's the projects and our clients are so diverse. Every time we have to look what we need. I think we did last year about 80 projects, bigger projects. And this is what we do. We believe in the moment when people, brands, and organizations truly meet. We believe, this is where we believe in, so that's why I said to Pim I love to come to this meetup, because we believe that the physical contact, the meeting, is the most exciting moment, the moment when we make the most impact with each other. And we also see it with some customers of us who, with all their new IT solutions of meeting up with each other, so they do less events, but the events they do exceed the budget they did in the past. We are a full-service event agency. We work 60-50, I would say 50-50. 50 is corporate, so it's bol.com, Tommy Hilfiger, Peugeot, that sort of companies. And the other 50% is the government. We do a lot of government projects. I will show you a few also. I've prepared 2, one from the UN and one antimicrobial resistance congress. But I think it was the most exciting project we did last year. We're good in translating content into the right form, into the right event form, into the right event format. That's what we do. That's what we do daily. It looks very easy, but I said to, I think I found it out 2 years ago that that's what we do, translating translating our customers' content into the right event form. And you see some formats that we use. Brand event is one of those, kick-offs, client events, congresses, and so on. Today I was asked to speak about brand activation. This is getting slowly, Hans. But activation is conversation. That is what we do. That's what we try to do. This is not at our events, but what we're trying to do is we help our customers to tell stories, to tell authentic stories, to tell real stories. And I think the movie is over here right now. We were asked in June by the UN. They had a very big UN public service forum in the Netherlands. We got it because we want to be in the Safety Council, but you have to lobby something, so that's why we did for the UN a big congress in the Netherlands. And the ministry and the UN asked us to help them out. They said we have a 5-day conference, and how can we get the message we want to send? How can we inspire everybody to do it different, to get them engaged? It was a very hard message to bring, and we always want to start with setting the scene, and this is what we came up with. This was Ayla, and we created her. She was a Dutch girl, 11 years old. Her father was Canadian, and her mother comes from Brabant. And we used her to tell a story. We used her to tell a story to 193 different nationalities, and we used her for setting the scene. And this is the way we wanted to work. This is what we want to bring across, sharing other messages. Sharing in a different way, and share something that you can feel. Proper meeting design, that's key in what we do, and that is the way we work. If we look to all the projects we do, meeting design is looking for the right form to, how do you say it, om de inhoud goed te verpakken, de inhoud naar de vorm te vertalen. The correct mold for its content and the real stories to be authentic. That's what we do. No, we do it for several countries. Tommy Peugeot, we work together with the guys from DPDK on a few projects. Snow software, so you can see it's for several occasions also. And live, that's our product. Live at its best. In the short history, live was, maybe you know it, like a small event for your personnel, if you did something, or you had a brand who, Veronica on tour. It was small, it was a one-off. Now we see in the way we work, we use live as in the center. Live is, it always begin with a physical moment. If there's no physical moment, we don't take the job. We work on Peugeot together, and we first started there, and we did first a Facebook activation, and then in the showrooms everybody got a small event, custom made, when they buy their car. 2 weeks later, it was such a success, they asked us only to do the Facebook campaign, and then we say no. If there's no live component, we don't take the job. Live at its best, we know, and we use our partners also in it, to use mobile, social, mail, web, and everything, but everything we use to make the message stronger, to make the event stronger. And also what is very important nowadays is the event is not a one-off anymore, because we have so many tools, so many communication tools. We can start early and we can end later. We make several events, and nowadays we're going to start for Achmea. We do a big kickoff, but we use all the content we create on the event, and we use it later on through the whole year with smaller sessions, and we work again to the big event again. These are small movie of the things that we do. This is what you see when you think about events. But this is, hoe zeg je dat? Dit is de vertaalslag van die inhoud naar vorm. Hier gaat het over uiteindelijk, als het van papier komt. En dit is wel tof, zal ik zo meteen vertellen waarom we dat dak hebben gemaakt. En dit is dus allemaal wat er nog los wordt ingekocht en wat we uiteindelijk maken. Maar het begint dus bij, wat wil je vertellen en hoe gaan we dat maken? Ja, zoals je ook ziet, er werd mij gevraagd. I was asked to tell something about brand activation, but it's broader than that. Events is you can use it for so many, for so many things. For the Tommy Hilfiger company, we each year do their Christmas event. It looks like very simple. You saw the big room, and the ceiling was made with the same as then it was the Apple Watch, because the Christmas present for everyone was to give them all an Apple Watch, and we had 1,500 people in the room. So they said to us, how can we create a moment of, that's fantastic and a cool moment. So we created the watch in the ceiling. So we had a countdown, and we had a whole, with all the dancers, and afterwards CEO, he came on stage and he showed them the watch. And they went berserk, you can imagine. But everyone always looking for what do we have to do. Snow, I don't know if everybody knows it, it's an IT company. We created their global snowstorm, is how we call it, on Connect, Inspire and Improve. We created it for the Netherlands, and now we travel all around the world with the same format. Jameson, Pernod Ricard company, we work for a lot of brands. From Absolute Vodka, and this is for Jameson. Jameson, the whiskey brand, they support the Dutch Movie Association. So we had a filmhuis movie. We select one. Oh, and we built we built some scenes into a stage. Then look the movie, like the Dutch premiere, and afterwards have a big party with all Jameson, of course. And the Peugeot brand, we do a lot of cars. Was before the crisis, it was one of the biggest opdrachtgevers in our branch. But nowadays they do a lot less. And but still, a car you have to feel. You have to. Je moet hem ervaren. Je moet erin rijden. Ik wil nog één ding laten zien, want 10 minuten was kort en ik wilde heel veel dingen vertellen. Ik wil ook heel veel dingen over events vertellen en over wat merkactivatie, brand activation. Last year we had the Dutch presidency in the Netherlands. I don't know if everybody still remembers it. The Ministry of Health asked us to create 18 different congresses about 18 different topics. One of the topics was antimicrobial resistance, antibiotica resistentie, waar we allemaal mee te maken hebben, wat een groot probleem is. And our minister, Edith Schippers, she said to us, okay, Gerben, after the Congress, after the event, I want to achieve that we have a declaration that we can send to the EU. And okay, it was a hard subject, and how did we do it? So what we did is we created a movie for her, and we designed a movie, and the movie was about a real story. The movie was about a real problem, over een echt probleem dat zou kunnen gaan ontstaan als wij nu vandaag, als die ministers in die zaal niet gingen beslissen met elkaar, gaat er iets gebeuren wat we allemaal niet willen. Dat hebben we in kaart gebracht. We hebben een film gemaakt van speelfilmniveau. En we hebben die film na 7 minuten stilgezet en gewoon gevraagd aan alle ministers die daar zaten: hoe gaat u vandaag beslissen en hoe gaat u vandaag beslissen als dit gaat gebeuren? Aan het einde van de dag hadden we een declaratie liggen die als aanbeveling is gegaan en nu Europees geagendeerd wordt. Dat zijn dingen die je dus door op een bepaalde manier je events in te richten en over na te denken over hoe je die juiste vorm gaat creëren, is uiteindelijk het evenement. En dat is natuurlijk ook weer dat de koffie warm is en de locatie gehuurd is. Dat is bij ons, dat mag je, dat is toch de basis. Maar nadenken over hoe je impact gaat maken en resultaat, dat is wat je bij ons extra krijgt. Ik zal een stukje laten zien. Nou, 's ochtends gingen ze zitten. Van Dam is in buitenlandse samenstellingen minister van Landbouw. Dus die was erbij. Dus de ministers van Landbouw en de minister van Volksgezondheid uit alle Europese landen zaten in de zaal. En dit is allemaal door ons opgenomen en gemaakt om inzicht te geven in hun eigen problematiek.
Incredible when you think at the beginning of the century there were at least 8 groups of antibiotics capable of dealing with the KPC. Now there are only 3.
This superbug has developed resistance to all antibiotics.
The bugs are winning the battle.
We are seeing an increase in these enterotype 16 infections across Europe. Now we are seeing more cases in the general population, also predominantly in pregnant women, and even several babies died. Additionally, the European Food Safety Authority...
Alle organisaties kloppen, alle namen kloppen, niks is fingeerd, alles is gewoon echt gemaakt. En het hele scenario, het scenario-based policy discussion zoals we het genoemd hebben, is compleet uitgedacht met de beleidsmensen die op dit onderwerp zitten bij het ministerie.
We really need to cooperate between the human and veterinary side.
And what about the connection to the human enterotype 16 infections?
Until now, it's still unclear if they are connected.
En dan ging dit in de zaal aan en werd er eigenlijk gewoon gevraagd aan ministers van Landbouw en Gezondheidszorg, dames en heren, wat vindt u ervan? En we gingen het debat aan. We hadden een hele goede moderator, een technisch moderator zoals wij dat noemen en een inhoudelijk moderator. En uiteindelijk aan het einde van deze sessie, door deze films om weer in 4 scènes te knippen, hadden we een declaratie liggen die als aanbeveling gold voor de Europese Unie. Wat ik ermee wil zeggen, want het is ook de laatste slide die ik heb, want de tijd is volgens mij... gaat goed. Wat ik wil zeggen is dat wij de ouderwetse events kennen jullie, dat waren mensen die heel goed konden organiseren. Dat waren mensen die heel goed na konden denken over logistiek en heel goed alles op tijd gingen laten lopen. Die stonden achter de schermen en die stonden ervoor te zorgen dat iedereen snapte wat er moest gaan gebeuren op welk moment. Events die wij maken en hoe wij erover nadenken is gewoon hoe gaan we die inhoud naar de juiste vorm krijgen. En dat kan dus zijn voor James een stuk voor het merk doen. Tommy Hilfiger op een stuk imago, een stuk intern. Maar ook zo'n zware beleidsstukken vertalen. Begrijpelijk maken voor de doelgroep. En uiteindelijk zorgen dat je met elkaar impact creëert. Dit was eigenlijk heel het kort wat ik wil vertellen.
Thank you very much. That brings us to the questions, because I saw a lot of latecomers coming in, so probably they have questions for you. I will start myself. Can you sketch me a situation of where it completely goes wrong and how you handle to make sure you have a backup plan in place? Because I see some examples of what you did, but you probably also have to have a lot of things in place. Like as a backup scenario.
We never have a backup scenario. We always have one scenario because I had a discussion with Pim and Michael when we had a burger, but I don't know, but a lot of digital guys or TV guys or whatever, you have a second take. We only have one take. The room opens at 10. We start at 10:15, and then it's showtime. So you never have a second take. But I can give you an example how far we go. Mm-hmm. The thing you saw, the 1,500 sit-down people was in the Rye for Tommy Hilfiger, and we did there the thing with the Apple Watch. The weather was not that good, but we have when we rent venues, we have slots, so we have to come in. The room that was free couldn't have all the snow if there was no snow, but we also had a scenario, the snow scenario. So we also have 2 sneeuwschuivers outside the Rij, already prepared, because if there is snow, we can clean it up because we have a slot time. But there's no point of no return, we always have to go through.
So your scenario covers it all, actually.
Always, yeah.
All right. Are there any other questions? Come on, Pim, you have a question, right? Pim? Ben?
Okay. So you said that you were sitting there with all the high-class politicians and you were showing them a movie, kind of emotional movie.
Yeah.
I would really like to know this kind of people. They are used to all of these situations, but how did they react on it? Because it should somehow influence their decision, right?
It was a very good question. This was not the only thing we did, but it was one of the biggest things we did with them. Normally, if a minister goes to a meeting like that, he gets like a file this big, and he reads it, and it goes in his suitcase, and then he reads it and he prepares. You also have cultural differences, because we have East European ministers, they can say nothing. And we have West European ministers, and they can say everything. That has to, that's with the country they come from. If you come from Poland, you have to read your declaration that was written in Poland. And if you're from another country, no, it's more free. So you have cultural differences. So we prepared them with an AMR daily. It was like a print. It was a thick newspaper, and we explained the whole thing we were going to do. And we also communicated up front with them, and we told them a few stories, and we showed them the inside, so they were not surprised, and so they could prepare very well for the things we were going to do with them. So it was all, it was not the film is emotional, but it is real, because if they don't decide, this is what's going to happen. But we prepared it that well that they all were comfortable in deciding on this way.
Gerben, nice to meet you. My name is Pim. Thanks for coming today. Gerben, when you work on a campaign or a brand activation with one of your clients, is there another agency involved? Is there an above-the-line theme that you need to be in line with, or is it that you work as a standalone agency? How does it work?
It's different. It's different. Sometimes we work on an account with a advertiser, a big advertising agency. Sometimes we work together with digital companies. Sometimes we work we work standalone, and we involve digital companies or ad agencies. It starts always differently. It used to be that we were always working standalone, because we were those event guys and nobody understood us. But nowadays they see the importance of live, so we work more and more and more together with different type of agencies who create other tools than we do.
And when you pitch on a new client or a new project, what is most important in your process? Is it the way you organize, or the creative strategy in your proposal, or is it a combination of both?
The organization, you can if you do business with us. It's the organization has to be flawless. It's the same if you go to the Starbucks, your coffee is warm, because that is the basic ingredient of the services we provide. But if you so they come for us how we translate their problem, how we do their strategy, how we make the strategy of the company, how we translate it into an event strategy, and how we we go from how do we say, from content to the right format. That's the thing we sell, and the project management and everything around it. It has to be flawless.
Your client, is it the marketeer, or is it procurement, or is it every time it's a different? It's different.
Every time it's different. Now we work for Schiphol also. That's one of our customers. We have and then we work with for communication. We work for real estate. We work for. Sometimes we work for communication. Sometimes we work for the CEO. It's always different. Yeah.
Other questions?
Yeah. Hi Gerben, I'm Michael. Nice to meet you. Coming from a digital agency, we are very used to working human-centered, so user-centered completely. How is that for your creatives? Do you start with the objective for kind of a theme, or from Apple Watch, or do you also assess kind of who's coming and base your ideas on that?
Yeah, it's every time is different. Sometimes it's about the target audience. Sometimes more or less it's most of the time it's about which objectives do they have, what do they want to accomplish, and what is the result we want to create together. And sometimes it's you take the watch and you make it big because we thought there's a ceiling and we could like ding. So that was then you make that bigger and make something the rest smaller, and that's it looks easy, but it is the most spoiled target audience you can imagine, because 1,500 people from fashion, you have to give them the event of the year because they're used to it. So yeah, every time you have a different starting point, but more or less always we create objectives together with our customer, and that is the starting point to start creating and start translating their strategy.
And then afterwards, because also we are used to KPIs, where it's an activation, so you need results.
Yeah.
Do you need to hand over kind of data afterwards, or do you collect opinions? How does that work? When do clients say it was a great success?
More or less, some customers, they don't need it. They're happy when you do something for their personnel and everybody's happy. But nowadays we also use a lot of invitation management tools. And in those tools we also have a lot of types of different types how to measure an event in NPS or other score methods. If you do something for Peugeot, it was something for the press. We have the same indicators as you guys, and you can see how many press it was about that event or something like that. So every time it's different. Now what you see is we made two big changes in also in event in the event landscape, because a few years ago it was like this: I was talking, you were listening. But now you can talk back, so that's another thing we have to do. Interaction and transparency is very important in the big meetings, and people want to participate and interact. So there are a few things we have to take care of. And also what I said before is that it used to be a one-off, one event, boom, start, finish, end, everybody happy and go home. But now it's like, I showed it before, you have just like your communication planning, and you have your print and your digital, and then you have your event. So we pick it up where you guys left it, and we give it over to somebody else. So yeah, we're really one of the tools now, and not just a fun thing to do.
Last one. You said a very nice belief, the moment that people truly meet. In conjunction with what you said, a lot of interaction going on, kind of social media being everywhere. Is that something that you guys kind of actively bring into events, or maybe even try to keep out of it? Because is that a true conversation with a brand or not? Is that you have an kind of opinion you always take on that?
No. It's we really believe that this is this is the most powerful moment you have, and we facilitate that. But I also believe that an event is like we do here tonight on a small scale is one of the most precious. It's a fantastic moment to create new content. So like we did on the thing with Ayla, we created Ayla. She was 11 and she was the future of all those nationalities in the room, and she told a story that's more effective than an old guy standing there in bad English and opening the thing. I can't remember what I was to tell. Oh yeah, and we had there, we built a big newsroom, and we don't, it used to be that communication was along the side and down the hallway, and it was a small room and two journalists were sitting there. Now we create, with those projects, we create big newsrooms, but we create them in the corridors where everybody walks through, and you have your social walls where everything is coming in, and we have small interviews to place on Twitter. So yeah, we think that that the event is one of the most it's a great moment just to create new content and use your channels to transport it.
All right, thank you very much. I think he deserves another applause, right? Well, that brings us to a 10-minute small break. I will gather everyone again when we continue with Michael's presentation. Well, he already started, so see you in a second. right. Yes, we'll start again. Although I see some people still chewing on their burger, that's okay. Michael will not wait for that. So give it up for Michael for the next talk.
Thanks. Hi guys. Welcome. Thanks. Almost did your presentation. We could switch, see how that goes. Thanks all, welcome. Also to my little talk. I'll do one later on, thanks. I'm going to share you the thoughts that we have on brand activation, because in contrast to Gerben, our activations are always on the digital side. This is our mission. It's transforming brands through exceptional digitalism, because what we believe is that digital is the way that we can connect with anyone, anywhere, at any time, and that they can connect back to us. So that's basically why we at DPDK love that. We love to tinker with stuff and see how people react on it, and actually to have them. The highest goal is to improve every one of our lives just that bit. Maybe it's just smile, maybe it's a better flow, maybe it's a seamless connection to buying that car you always wanted. But we're here to make things nicer, make it easier, and make it better. That's, I think, the summary of the combination for us between exceptional and digitalism. Everything we do is digital, and we always aim for that kind of moonshot. We try within every project to say, okay, wouldn't it be really scary cool if we would do this? And that's what turns it into exceptional. We are experimental based, so we love prototyping a lot. We like to see ourselves as an innovation partner, and we do everything for our clients to achieve that by challenging them to think further, ahead, to see what their products are now and what they can be, and what basically their whole brand is and the whole product offering is and what it can be. So I'm going to take you through how we perceive digital activation through a case. We say, so how do we bring a brand to life in the digital landscape? That's kind of the question I'm hoping to answer with this little meetup, with this keynote. So if I didn't give you that answer, just holler at the end of the meeting, because in that case I wasn't paying attention while making the keynote. So as I said, I'm going to do this just by taking one case from last year for Peugeot. Yes, that's an acquaintance, because Obsession also works for Peugeot. There's a connection there. And the guys at Peugeot have reached out to us for the past couple of years several times, because they wanted us to make a digital brand activation and to get people basically buy their cars. That's, for any car manufacturer, basically that's the beef, right? They want to make cool shit just as we, but they want to sell cars. Now, in this case, they wanted to sell the 3008. That's a lovely tongue breaker right there. It's a beautiful car. It turned Car of the Year, so that made it easier for them. But still, they needed to introduce it. And once they introduce it, usually in the Netherlands, if they're lucky, and lucky means if they have enough budget, they bring on a TV campaign, TV commercial. Now, the Netherlands is, if you compare it to their home country, France is just like this tiny speck, so there's also a tiny budget. So the commercials, they just come in from a headquarter in Paris. And then basically the Dutch Peugeot group, they're kind of, stuck with a commercial they didn't ask for, and they need to hook that up to Dutch consumers. So that's when they turn to us and say, so how can we prolong this commercial? How can we prolong it online? How can we make it digital? And then somehow connect it to people flooding our showrooms and flooding our CRM system. So I'll show you the commercial for the 3008.
Wat als de werkelijkheid nog sensationeler is dan u zich kunt voorstellen? Ervaar maar de nieuwe Peugeot 3008 SUV en de unieke iCockpit.
All right. So we have a guy doing VR, right? And he's driving the car, and the car is actually better than virtual reality. That's kind of their promise, right? Well, first off, we kind of loved it because the previous projects for Peugeot were really kind of globally trend-setting on the use of VR. We did some really stunning VR stuff for them, so we were like, yeah, we're going that VR side again. On the one side, it's like, yeah, well, been there, done that. But then again, from the projects before this, there were still loads and loads of ideas that we had, and new technologies and inspiration we were sharing. And said, wouldn't it be scary cool if we would do this in VR? So we had some ideas stacked already, and the question was, how will we get this towards online? How will we connect something to this commercial? Have you do something with that car and that environment? It's not France, it's Iceland, with those geysers spouting up. And then somehow experiencing the proposition that the car has more technology in it than in your wildest dreams. That's basically the premise for this car. Now, the good thing is that they could actually follow up on that. I'll explain in a bit. So this is the position kind of as a sketch we're usually in. So we have a TVC, then there's kind of a gap in the middle, at least for Peugeot marketeers, to say we need to get that in. And then from our digital activation, we need to push people, push data, whatever, into the CRM system. So we need to excite them that much, give them hot triggers that they say, oh yeah, I'm going to drive this thing. So, and then after that, I mean, that's our hookup point. That should lead to sales, obviously. But that's, once you step into a car, that's kind of their turf, so their responsibility. But hey, it was a beautiful car, so you see it on the road a lot, so that really actually does work. It's it drives nice, and it has that technology, so that's nice. Now the question is, how do we work around that, work into that digital activation? So I'll take you through the stages that we went through and kind of questions that we ask each other, and see how we can kind of answer the brief and get to a product. So first off, it starts with a bit of kind of strategic positioning. So where do we, where do we need to go with this? What do we need to achieve? Well, that was obviously already shared. So in the end, we need to achieve people kind of, flooding to the showroom. So at the end, there's of this any brand activation, there is a drop-off point saying, well, you want to experience this in real life. So that was already a nice hook for the virtual reality. You want to experience this in real life, come to our dealer, and then get that, make that as easy as possible, and then just hand Peugeot that data. So what are we aiming for? That was an important question, and that's not based on KPIs, but that's based on the experience. It's kind of, so what are we aiming for as a reaction? How can we connect to users on an emotional level? How can we trigger them in such a way that they'll just go, oh yeah, this is, if this is if that car drives like this digital experience feels, then I'm just going to devote my precious time on any given Saturday on it. So so we set a bar for it. We needed, if the premise is about technology and it's about being a front runner, they were kind of exposing all these digital systems, technological systems in the car. So he said that's kind of the angle we're going for. We're gonna take that and we're gonna make that so big that it's gonna be, you can't forget that. This is all about the cars, all about technology. What does the world of our target group look like? Who are the people kind of that may be triggered by looking at the TV commercial? We don't have to do very elaborate market research. We do that a lot, but that's if you have the potential to plug in before that TV commercial. So you have that TV commercial, and from that TV commercial we identify. So who will be triggered by this? And that makes your target audience already kind of quite tightly knit. So that's ideal for us, because we know they're going to be tech savvy, they're going to be car savvy. VR is a thing that turned them on. Because what what you can do when you air a commercial. You know, everybody's seen that when, you know, in the back in the days when you did still watch TV, there was a commercial, then there was another commercial, and then there's this 5-second commercial, right? You see the same shot from the commercial, and it says go to blah blah blah, and you know, enter or experience or win or whatever. So that's what we usually do with Peugeot, and obviously there are, you know, different ways of getting people in, but you can kind of identify what their view on the world is, what their interests are, based on I mean, also brief and insights from the client, but it's kind of highly determined from the commercial. Why would they engage, right? What are we offering? What are we giving people in return for their time? Because you know, everything is personalized. So you're skipping banners. You just get personalized offers within an app that you select, and right. We're kind of shutting down all our portals of communication, of information, and we're being very selective in the experience that we open. So the offering that you can show someone needs to be kind of very specific. So it needs to kind of be the part and look the part. So we said it's going to be a very experimental thing. Yes, it needs to be VR because, you know, that already resounded from the commercial. VR is still kind of quite hot. You know, second question is, what if you don't have VR? I'll answer that. But VR is still kind of, you know, in the really experience realm, and not everybody is you know, doing experimental VR all the time. So it really has that kind of, you know, I'll pull you in factor. You have to, you know, you have to do this. But we also knew that because the stuff that we already did in VR, kind of, you know, regular film or even film within a car, and you can switch stances and, you know, different camera views, we also knew that we had to do something different than that, because once you give people kind of a baseline already, especially in a new technology, you know, if you make the next step, you're gonna have to step it up. You're gonna have to do something new. So we said, why would they engage? Because we're going to offer them a VR experience, but a really kind of experimental, really cool one, being in the next level, and, you know, take away. We were going to move away from just film. So what's the idea? That's obviously the next thing. You need to have kind of small pointy thing that's also a bit of the promise as well. Kind of in the name should already be the expectation. So for this, because of all the technologies, we said that's kind of your sixth sense on the road. There was somewhere in the bottom area of one ad or one big chunk of a commercial brochure, it said something about, you know, a sixth sense, and we said, wow, that's really cool. That car, you know, if we have a digital activation, we'll say, discover your sixth sense, right? Because the car is your sixth sense on the road. And our idea is to start looking at the world. We'll show people the world in VR, how the car sees the world. So you're not in the driver's seat. It's kind of more you're in the hood, you're in the bumper. And this is the way the car perceives the world, and how those technologies kind of, you know, look around them and feel and map how the world looks. And that's also kind of how do we call it? From that idea, we said, well, if we take a car and we say we use the technology to build the world, what would that look like? So we started researching plane radars and Tesla and like sonar and stuff, and you get into this very technical stuff. Obviously, funny thing is, if you visualize how a Tesla kind of looks around, it's just video and just squares around it saying, well, this might be a danger or not. There's nothing really cool. There's nothing really experimental. So sometimes reality can be a bit dull, and you know, you have to kind of dress it up, obviously. So we said, how does, you know, we looked at kind of height maps, you know, from mountain areas, and we said, what if you kind of take that and make it digital and make lines glow and stuff? That's what you see on the upper right-hand corner. That has the idea of kind of a mountainscape. And we said, you know, how can we have that world? Kind of how can we see that? And we were like, if there's this kind of 360 sonar coming from the car, it might just receive back all these kind of blips. And what if the world is kind of made of blips, and by all these blips together you get the idea of a landscape, and you're driving through that landscape on a certain road, kind of that Iceland road, and you need to do stuff, you need to experience those technologies. So who are we? We are the car. Where are we? We're on that same road because we need to connect it seamlessly. If we would just be in a street, that's very strange. You know, you came in from a very specific film environment there on that strange road and mountains in the backdrop and guys are spouting. So we also need somehow to connect to that piece of film and then somehow kind of say, hey, it's okay, we'll just throw you into this really dotted world which is completely different because it looks like, you know, you're inside a computer, but you're still in the same kind of in the same environment. So that was we knew that was going to be a huge challenge to do that. You need to think about a story. You need to activate people. You need to tell them a story and you need to give them a goal. So our story was, as I said, you know, this is the sixth sense and you're on kind of a mission to discover 3 of those technologies of the car. So we picked, together with the client, we picked the 3 most interesting, most interactive kind of gadgets from the car. And we said we need to build a kind of mini mission with that. We need to build a scene where you drive and this system is shown to you and you need to have just this little interaction. Make it simple, move from left to right, or, you know, press spacebar, or keep your mouse down, and then you see an effect. Obviously in VR you don't have mouse and stuff, so we needed to think of those goals in terms of VR as well. Now luckily your phone has all these cool features. I'll come back to that later. So the goal is kind of finishing 3 missions and experience that technology, and at the end we'll just drop you off at a certain point where you can say, yeah, that's my name, that's my email, and you can definitely contact me. So nice idea, but how we do it? So we started prototyping. Now in kind of let's say years ago, when you would do a digital production like this, you would start, kind of saying, well, it needs to work like this. Let's go and set something up. Let's design something in Photoshop, and then let's say to the developers, this is what you need to make. In these kind of productions, that's impossible, because you need to see how it moves, how it behaves, how the landscape, how will that behave, because everything is animated. So we started out by churning out motion prototypes and kind of discovering from that mood board that you saw and a lot of other mood boards, saying, so what if we create an environment, you see lines made from dots. That was the first prototype, and then we went to camera on the road and say, so, you see the lines here, this is just black and white, and we start moving over that road. Now you see the road's going up and down. There's the Iceland geyser there. The road's going up and down, the camera's not, so I said, well, how we're going to tackle that? Well, let's first make the right atmosphere, give it a cool color there, and we need to, this is about a system that keeps you on the road, that corrects you if you're kind of like you're checking your socials and you're drifting off to the next lane. It gets you back in the right lane. So that's why you see the green lit sides of the road there. And then this is kind of the first scanning effect that we started working on. And every iteration we came upon or that we rendered, we said, well, okay, let's tweak this, because first we knew we have to know exactly what we need to make together to actually develop before we start developing, because there's not much time and you need to know exactly what you're doing. So yeah, first effects for sonar vision, kind of this is by pressing your space. And then we started going into the more detailed stuff with a depth of field in the background, really cool effects from the side. You're looking around, you see you're on the right of the road, and then if you look at the side of the road, there's this kind of red wall coming up, signaling, saying, hey, you need to this ends here. And then this is our 360 prototype prior to development. Now you'll see a bit later on that again, this is a starting point for development, but you can't copy this exactly, so it's always interesting how that will turn out. And then there's a point where you start doing a lot of other stuff. So we start developing, but there's also sound design. That is a discipline that really came up a couple of years ago, we added that to our skill set years ago. We have Dickie right there, he's our dedicated sound designer, and we said, so how does this world sound, and how do we get in from the soundtrack from the commercial, and how do the bleeps and the boops and the, how do the effects sound? And we started experimenting around. There's a lot of stuff going on in the activation itself, so you need to trigger different sounds. They need to work together. That was quite hard. Different versions. No. So different versions for different atmosphere. Yeah. Different versions for different atmosphere. First one is very kind of quiet, and now it's more activated, higher BPM, so you're actually driving on the road, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna look that way, I'm gonna look that way. Kind of like, yeah, the bleeps and the boops. And then we need to fit it all together. As I said, we need to create a transition, so this is what people already saw. And what we do is we take a bit of that commercial, we make a re-edit, and we start working our way into our world. So again, first prototype saying, so what if we translate that car into all these dots as well? And then we say, what if we can fly through that car? Because we need to set you up in that position that you understand that you're at the front of the car. And then with a different soundtrack, and then you hear it, it's just completely different. So there's more suspense, there's more like, okay, we're going. We're going 58, it's not. And there you go. So, and that's where the world, opens up, and you end up in our experience. Technology is just, I don't have the time to elaborate on how difficult this was, but taking from both the After Effects prototype that you saw, and we did a lot of 3D. This is one of the scenes right here where you have to go down kind of a cliff, and the car kind of helps you by braking. Really, really difficult to do that in VR. So we just need to, keep on going. We did this multiple times. Multiple times you said, this is not doable. Can we try another technology? But in the end, we had a breakthrough, and it actually works really well. And everybody needs to see it. And I'm going to keep this really short so you can see the whole experience as well. Because, as I said, not everybody watches VR every day. Nobody here, I can tell you, has a VR cardboard in their pocket. So what you do have is your smartphone. So we always have a fallback on 360 video. So it works on everything. It works on your desktop, on your laptop, whatever tablet. You can just look around, and when you do have VR, because that's where you want to aim. You want to be that high technology company, as Peugeot and we as well. So you need to offer that VR and then have it work as well, which was again terrible, but we managed to pull it off. And that means in the end that you get this brand activation. go. So that's our brand activation. Any questions? Yeah.
All right.
Mike, your mic? Oh, sorry, Antoine, that was your line.
Yeah, congratulations. I think it's really a nice job. I love
Thanks.
it. Maybe this is not about the brand activation kind of part, but which language did you use? Did you use React VR? Or did you use another framework or language to program the actual 3D?
I have to. Who can answer that question besides me?
Programmers
I'm looking at Mo there.
Yeah, what did you use?
Yeah, we actually used 3GS for the 3D part, so we use JavaScript mainly for all the 3D parts.
JavaScript, which framework did you use? Did you use React or did you use some other?
No, we didn't actually. We wrote it in pretty much. We used Backbone, but the whole VR part and the 3D part is completely done in 3GS. So actually not really based on the framework.
Yeah. What we're seeing is really just a container of a movie. Because we were looking at the software program.
Yeah, you're partially. Like the 3D part is done in 3GS, but of course the movies are, separate parts.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I'm not blaming you.
Yeah, of course.
I hear a continued discussion going on, I think, outside.
I love to discuss about tech, so that's cool.
Yeah. But why, you're not in tech, right? I was like,
well, maybe another question. I will just ask you something I already know, but...
Oh yeah, there was a question here as well. I thought you meant that one. Sorry.
So I'm not quite sure how to formulate this question, but one thing that struck me from the very first, when you first started your talk, is that you see a commercial, which is, you can have an opinion about the commercial, and there's a guy sitting there with a VR glasses on it, and then suddenly. Maybe your client wants a VR thing, or then suddenly you're producing a very technical VR thing for people that need to be activated to then go to the dealer and then drive the car. Mm-hmm. So where in that point where you go from a commercial to this, do you kind of take an account that maybe there are not super many people that actually take the effort of putting a glasses on, and do you? I mean, I don't know. It feels very complicated for a very small group of people that will actually use it. And how do you how do the clients react, or what's?
Excellent questions. Excellent questions. Excellent questions. No, so first off, your first question, is it too complicated? We don't feel it is, because, as I said, you know that people that watch this commercial and actually activated, triggered by it, they're
really?
Triggered.
That's one thing that I really wonder, is that people are triggered by VR in 2016 probably, and then...
No, I mean the group of people that is triggered by this, that's easy to follow up on. Because that's the only... I mean, this is TV, right? So if you don't show a URL, they ain't going anywhere. So if and in this case it was, you show a URL, the people that will punch in that URL, you know that they're activated, they're hot for it, and they're hot for the combination probably of the car and VR.
I get that. They're probably mostly hot for the car, I think, maybe VR as well. But then there's like a percentage, maybe even less, of those people that follow up, that actually have a VR glasses in their homes. And then from that 1%, there's probably another percentage of people that will actually take the effort of picking up this thing and loading.
No, absolutely. That's what I meant with. I absolutely know for certain that nobody here has a cardboard in their pocket. So that's why you also have kind of a regular version. They, Peugeot is on a mission to be perceived as a technological car company. Right. So that's where kind of brand strategy-wise you need to offer it. You also need to offer kind of the easy, you know, the step-in version. So that's where you have video, and obviously on the website you can just say, show me the car or visit the showroom as well. Kind of whatever 6 cents. I'll just look at there are more pages. I'll just look at the car.
But is there not in the and it's what because I've done a couple of VR things. Random stuff. Where do you sometimes someone comes to me and says, hey, I want a VR film, and I'm like, no, you don't want a VR film. You don't, it's too expensive, it's not, no one's gonna watch it. It's like, how do you guys, did that not happen? Or
isn't that speculating the market group?
All right. Okay.
But
so how many people actually watch this in VR? Then
I'd have to come back on you to on that.
You know I'm very VR skeptical.
I know. Well,
as a person.
I do have the figures of the previous one. Because the results from that, it's not about, because as I said, it's about selling cars. Right, sure. So there was a big flow of traffic going through. That one was called Catch the Dragon. There was a big flow of traffic. It was something like 144% up on the same kind of campaigns they were doing. So there was a really an extra flow of traffic. Granted, that was 1.5 years earlier, so more hotness for VR. But in the end, the kind of the selling of the car, the percentage of sales, that went up 300%. And I'm not saying that that's because of VR or that's because of us, but that is because we connected the TV commercial. We were the connecting piece between TV commercial and CRM. Now, obviously, they have more efforts than that, but you need to have a good brand activation. Getting people into the right emotion, feeling good, feeling great about it, and then saying, let's, getting them over that threshold. And that can be VR if you want to be perceived as, technological, especially for the car. Then you have the backup. But agreed. Right. I mean, not everybody has VR just yet. AR will change that because that's just going to be built in your phone, but you won't be in a completely different world like this. Yeah.
It doesn't really matter actually if you can get the attention for other people. It doesn't even really matter if they actually going to watch it on the VR, because with a campaign like this, you can let people talk about it. There's a lot of people that watch Facebook be like, yo, you see this, you're So maybe it's not, I don't see this. I agree with you. If it was a movie, I would totally agree with you. But this is just serious eye candy. Maybe not functionality, but but just to spread the word and to get the attention. Sometimes it doesn't always need to be about the actual people who's going to put on the glasses, but who's going to spread the word that the pay show got a commercial on, and you better watch it.
Right.
That's what I think.
I agree with the eye part, and the whole everything is like the execution is flawless. But if there are very little people that actually experience it, and there's also very little people that can actually say it is awesome.
It would be.
You don't know that. And that's something that I find, especially in VR, I find it very
we're just going to give you the mics and everybody's going to go. Well, I think we have a very interesting conversation going on for the break. I think we should. Is there anyone else with a question?
There's just one short one.
Yeah, short one with Mike.
So, is this promoted outside of Holland, or is it only promoted inside
Yes,
Holland?
it's still coming in Holland. Very perceptive. It's still coming.
So you don't have the results yet?
Nope, not here.
But internet traffic is up
44%. That was for the previous one. So that one was live and was done already. So they measure everything. So and that was 44%. So that's why we don't know how it is performing in the Netherlands, because it's not performing in the Netherlands as is. Yeah.
But this campaign is only running in Holland, right? The website as it is right now. This is the Dutch.
No, it will still be running in Holland.
Okay. Yeah.
One more question.
Yeah.
It's going to be a specific
You're going to need to keep it short. I'm looking at Antoine.
All right.
Okay.
So, how do you like in the movie? There's like a transition between the VR world and then suddenly you
go back.
You go. Like, how does that work? Like, can you still punch in your credentials or leave your email address while you're in the VR environment, or is
you can exit the VR environment.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean? Because you can exit the VR environment at any time, and then you have that transition that you saw, kind of signaling, you're going from that world and back into reality.
Yeah. And then you're behind on the web page.
You're on a campaign page. You can discover the car, etc.
Yeah.
And the strange thing is, within kind of the industry that we're in, I really don't care that we may get in small amounts of people, because those people are really interested. And that's because they're targeted on an activation already. So you don't have to go per se on mass media, because that's where we say, really, whatever, that TV commercial, meh. It's the ones that say, okay, give me that experience.
Yes. All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
So let's take a short break. Harm, put on some burgers for the people who like. And be back in a sec. All right. Well, that's always nice. Just saying one word and everybody's quiet. All right, Michael, can you also sit down, please? Thank you. So last but not least, we have Joey from Friends for Brands. So give him a big applause. Yeah.
The mic, which doesn't work. Thank you very much for having me. I'm Joey from Friends, and this is not a joke. No, to be exact, I'm Joey Vermeijs from Friends for Brands. a branding agency, and we create branding activation strategy for several clients. But first, before I kick off with my presentation about one of our last cases, I want to do a small exercise with you. So if you want to please stand up and turn to your right, the person right to you, and look them into the eyes. Try to make real contact, and yeah. Is everybody? Sorry. Is everybody set? So please, I want you to ask your partner the question: what is your biggest passion, and how do you make it real in life? So how do you make it? Give it. Switch partners, if you didn't do. Okay. Is it, yeah? Everybody there, small chat? Yeah? Okay. Okay. Okay, thanks, okay, bye. Okay, thanks. It was a small exercise, thanks. How was it? I'm not going to ask all of you what the passion is, but it activates something, didn't it? Yeah? That's what I mainly do, or I'm a graphic designer, and my grammar is not too good, so sometimes you will see a small spelling voucher. But for me, that's what I like to do most, is talk to people, get into their passion, and try to create a story around it. And that's what I heard in your presentation, also the presentation of the guys from... that's what I also see, that people long for real stories, and real stories come from real passion. So in my belief, the true essence of activation is try to seek the passion of the client or the client's client, because we work a lot for consumer brands, and give it shape and share it with others. And I want to show us our last case. I like to not like show you the best cases we have, but I like to show you the last case we did. So this is one of the guys we work for at the moment. His name is Rene Bego. He's the founder and CEO of 100% Guides. Maybe you know it. Some people travel, and this is the guy who owns the company, and he is a very passionate guy about traveling, and also a very good damn publisher. And he has a passion, and he wants to create a memorable and good experience for his customers during his trip. And he's a publisher, so he he creates booklets, travel guides. But he wanted to do it on his own way. And what he saw, some context. What he saw that his market went up very quick in a few years, but now it was stagnating. And he saw that a lot of new chances came Oh, wait. And he saw that the travel market was very moving and very changing, like you see in Airbnb and all kinds of other new ventures were coming up into the market, but the travel guide market stayed pretty low. And he said, what can I do with it? Can I change my proposition to my clients and create a new way of thinking and connecting more media to service my client in a better way? That's a gap. That's I already told. He saw that travelers like to be more in a local environment and feel more at home also when they are traveling. But also there is a lot of content in the travel market, but not always content that is specified for your own needs. So that was also something he thought of. How could he do it differently? And with Google Maps, you can go everywhere and you can move around the cities pretty easy. So all kinds of new trends he tried to connect to his own brand, and we helped him to create a transition strategy from the old brand to the new one, and we helped him doing that. So we improved his guides, added some feature to it, expanded his services. For example, the difference from the normal one was that he invited specific authors who lived in the cities, who not only pointed out the hotspots but created routes through the city, or adding an app, which is not very innovative, but in this branch it is. And our job was to help him making this transition to this new brand and create a smart and memorable campaign. And you must see, you talked about Peugeot. The Peugeot is a client with a big budget, I think. He didn't have. So, and I think it's also really interesting, how can you create a smart idea, not only with a big budget, but also with something he has in hands. And it was very valuable content. He has very good authors on the ground in different cities. So that was something we can use in making deals with bigger companies who are really interested in the content he provided. So this was the old style and the old guide, and we helped them out by creating a new name, and the new name was Time to Momo. And the proposition was, if you buy this guide, we give you 100% good time. So we're not showing you the best spots, but we guarantee you a good time. By creating a new line of guides, not based on the hotspots, but really thematic walks through the towns, created by the guides on the ground, with an app and also with a new platform. So the campaign was, how can we create attention with a limited budget to create a buzz? So everybody knew the old style guides, like the 100% guides, we transform it to the new style Time to Momo guides. And the big idea was, the promise, Time to Momo will make your unprepared trip an enjoyable experience. Unprepared means if you are unexpected going to an unknown city. And we created the concept of the city droppings, Time to Momo. So the idea behind this was, okay, he didn't have a lot of money, but he did a lot of readers, and he had a lot of content. So we tried to make a concept so he could go into co-production with, for example, the NS or Transavia, to create a very interesting activation. Time to Momo collaboration with Transavia drops a large group of people totally unprepared in a city to prove that you really do not have to do anything to have a good time, 100% on your trip. So what the idea was, that we asked a lot of people to how does it work? The idea was that we created a big bang. It's we run a short and powerful campaign. On the day of dropping, we start communicating in the morning until the planes leave. In doing so, we constantly choose the media which with a live feel that we can use to target our target groups. So the idea was, we wanted to have a small precious, how do you call it, pressed moment where we can use some media to launch the idea of, okay, we have 100 tickets for free. You can, if you go to to the airport, wait a second. I have to. If you go to the airport, you could take a flight to the destination. And we did it with radio ads on Radio 538. On the dropping, we broadcast it, and we showed it, and people went to the airport. We did it also on the platform. We had also banners on nu.nl, which was okay, dit was landing page. And we had a live stream, which so you can see what. Engels, jongens, lastig. And we try to use also the moment of the arrival where people went to the airport to stimulate them to still go into the lines and go on the plane. With the live stream feature of Facebook, we can show what's going on at the airport and encourage people to come and check if there's still place available. So the idea was that you can, on the live stream, see if people wanted to come to the airport. Influencers, people who could vlog about the activation. We did some branding in the airport itself, and these 100 people went on the plane. So 5 influencers, an author of the city, so the people who do the tour, and from some video reporters who made video reports, so they can create video content and show that later on to attract more to audience. Video was a very important part in this campaign. We had video vloggers on board, and we made reports. And we could also, how do you call it, verspreiden. A lot of edits. Yeah, that's this. We also did an after movie, a full case movie, and sponsored on Facebook. And an after movie sponsored. We also used modified shorter edits with particularly beautiful city images for Instagram. Social winners, we shoot the personal videos of the winners and they can share it on their socials. And the social influencers made reports of the city droppings. Now, there was a quite interesting thing because Time Tomorrow, we didn't have the big budget to do it all by itself, and we created a sort of a vice versa deal where they can use the content of the city droppings for their own promotion, but also writing the content of the tours, which they can use in their own publications, for example, in the airplanes. Transavia app content, they can also use it in their own environment. So it was a win-win situation. Okay, I hope you enjoy my talk. Let's speak to. It was a little bit. Wait a sec. Something about my passion. No. Something about Friends for Brands, because that's the agency I represent. It's a creative agency for branding and activation. Ik kan niet wegleggen natuurlijk. We try to work with organizations who are willing to create products or services that make people more happy or make life a little bit better. So we are sort of quite idealistic. We want to take position in what kind of brands we want to work for, and which we're not. And our belief is with friends, everything is better. That comes from the idea that if you're making really contact and talk about your passions or the things you really like, I think you make far more impactful communication. Today I didn't do well, but normally I I do better. Something about brands we work for. It's not really interesting. It's just. But what is interesting is our new website. It's live today, and I hope you enjoyed my talk. You probably have a lot of questions, so give it to me.
So yeah, time for questions. Yours, yeah.
Hi. You said there was a very small budget, but flying 100 people to a country is quite expensive. I did see some branded Transavia thing, so I think there was a connection there that they gave you the tickets.
Yeah.
Was that connection was it there already, or did you manage to fix that for?
René is working in the business for quite a long time, so he has all kinds of contacts with all kinds of travel agencies or Booking.com. So we helped him creating the presentation to go to all kinds of travel companies, for example, NS, but also other media, and he managed to pitch this at the board of Transavia, and they were really enthusiastic. Well, it's still in the process of getting it done. It's really complicated to organize all this kind of stuff. But the deal is they provide the content, and Transavia is delivering the hardware, for example. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What does Momo mean?
Momo.
Yeah.
It means nothing.
Okay.
It's just. But
is that the new title of the brand?
It's new title of the brand is Momo.
Okay.
It's like you don't sell. They had problems like 100% guides says that you are promising 100% accuracy, and it's not. So they said we just wanted to sell. If you take this guide, you have the best time of your life, and we can promise that. So
it's the kind of mojo,
but
yeah.
In a sort of a other
Thanks.
sense, yeah.
More questions? No?
Okay.
All right. No more questions. Then Momo questions. Then thank you for your time, and give him another applause. Yeah. That brings us at the end of this meetup again. I think I should, as usual, thank everybody for coming. I think it's every time, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart, a big honor. I'm serious. It's a big honor to have people here, and I see every time the DPDK people putting their effort in this to organize it, and I think it's a big compliment that we do this, and to see all enthusiastic and happy people and 3 cool talks. So thank you, everybody. And of course, I see Harm all waving all there. Thank you, Harm, for the burgers. Yeah. I don't know if that was the hint, but I have no idea. That was just my impression of it. So thank you, everybody, and be sure to see you next time. Thank you.